Listen, I'm livid. When it comes to YouTube buffoonery, there happens to be a lot of it, and for the last 8-ish months of our channel, it's been hit with a bunch of restrictions that have made it a nuisance not just to upload, but just to maintain the uploads that we have. I've covered it on live streams, which even those themselves had to be moved to another channel, but I know that those don't have the same reach as an LME video, and since it has been over a year since our last YouTube breakdown, I figured it's time for an update. Let me explain. Now, the quick breakdown is YouTube censorship has just gone crazy. Like, I've dealt with a lot of the studio claims, and I'm learning to, handle those more and more, but these guys can't decipher between you talking about a movie or thinking that you agree with the main villain in it. They want you to now self-identify your videos, even though they still get final say on it. And we were hit for talking about a miniseries about exonerated men while they pushed our Netflix review for a movie that was practically a porno. When it does come to the studios, it's become an abusive relationship at this point, where they reach out or approve our coverage. They send us the virtual screener for ease of access. They even send us the footage to use. Hell, sometimes even a gift basket. And literally, I just want my content to not be claimed. I know there's been an absence of videos due to all of the limitations on the channel, but I hope that this video explains it all to you, not just because I think that the LME listeners should be in the know, but because it's important to inform other content creators who are working on their own videos. So I've spent the last half a year listening even more extra closely and figuring out how the game is played. And boy, is it dirty. Now, when it comes to YouTube, I do believe it's one of the best platforms. It's been the pioneer in not only providing a place for people to create their own channels, but it's spawned a revolution of social media and content creators throughout the entire internet. But they're still guilty of a lot. Remember how the YouTube Kids fiasco started an adpocalypse and no one knew that their channels were being marked as family-friendly or not? We couldn't even figure out where those labels were, and that all resulted in those COPA boxes that we need to check off every time we upload. And I feel like before we could fully understand that, they jumped to another set of ratings that our channels are now getting marked with. And again, we don't know how to see them.
Speaking of things that directly affect our monetization and our businesses, I see you looking at the clock hoping that this ticks down faster.
No. You can ask me as many questions as you want.
With the new self-imposed rules of us having to grade our own videos just for YouTube to have final say, it feels a lot like the IRS demanding you to do your taxes, but they're going to put you in prison if you don't give them the number that they already know you're supposed to give them. And just like higher-ups get to be exempt from all those rules, so do big names on YouTube. For me, back in the A to Z days when I was running that channel, I made a massive effort to make sure that I never swore in order to make sure that that channel was never deemed, in a negative light by YouTube. And then in the end, they accused me of making a bomb because I reviewed Nerve. And yeah, that was kind of worse, and I kind of wish I said shit. This time on LME, the big hit came from covering When They See Us, which they themselves hosted at one point. And it just restricted our channel for hate speech, that is so ironic for multiple reasons, YouTube, but because I couldn't guess that YouTube wanted me to deem my videos something that I still don't deem it to be, I've been suffering the consequences by not just having my monetization limited, which slashes the impressions and the views on all of my channel videos. The CPM is fractioned. It just put the entire channel in a limbo where if I mess up again, my channel can get even more blacklisted, if not just disappear. It honestly feels like they're conditioning us, like where YouTube knows that it's a network, but it doesn't want to impose those network rules because it's YouTube, so instead they just punish you and hope that you follow along and guess what their rules are. It feels like they want to push you to self-label your content the way that they want to, and there's no room for you to disagree. Be yourself, just, stop covering certain things or we're gonna limit your reach. Even when it came to live streams, which I thought would have been a better outlet to do, I had talked to other of my YouTube peers and even a YouTube expert who explained how bad a live stream is for the algorithm of your channel. Because remember when animators were screwed over when YouTube switched to watch time? So, they wanted everything to be over 10 minutes, so all the animators who had short-minute videos, they just tanked. Well, welcome to the TikTok age where YouTube now wants to bring back stories and, it's clips, or it's shorts, and now they're hungry for that minute content. So in other words, I learned that a long stream did the opposite of what a community post with polls does, and so we had to create a separate non-monetized channel just for that. But then came all the new YouTube rules, which, did people hate. Not only were they changing the terms of how YouTube pays you, like the actual terms, and it's now called royalties, which I have some thoughts on that for later, but now all of the channels that were never being monetized because they didn't reach YouTube's threshold can now be monetized by YouTube, and they don't have to worry about anything. You know, unlike partners who get blamed whenever content doesn't meet the advertiser's liking, YouTube hits us and tells us what we did wrong. But YouTube can't really hit or reprimand the video that didn't approve the monetization. And you know YouTube isn't even reprimanding themselves. So it's such a sweet, sweet deal for them. So now every time that I review something for a film, I'm on a chat defending how I'm not promoting bullying by covering a show that's against it. I'm talking about Becky and defending herself from Nazis and have to explain how that's not propaganda, it's a movie. And that 360, well, actually, they like 365. They pushed that bad boy to 1 million because I guess that was what they want as content. Pretty much, they keep building a platform where they want to profit off of you speaking. They just don't want to listen. We've already covered how studios can use claims to suppress negative reviews and how they let the positive ones flourish, you know. Many times, they literally just claim the part of the video that's being negative. Like, do I need to add more? When Hamilton was released on Disney this past year, I got hit for saying Aaron Burser in a video. I didn't play the song. I just said those 3 words. Practically every Paramount and Universal video that LME has covered has been claimed or it's been blocked, you know, unless it's uber positive, because again, conditioning. For Skyscraper, we had to, you know, it got claimed and we had to contest it on its theatrical release, on its home video release, and now with this whole other window that is streaming, they did it again, except they blocked it in China because they didn't like a joke that we made. That said, with time comes experience and networking. We've worked our butts off to get approved at fests and award circuits, you know, just to be on the press list. And while it was hard at first, I guess the moment that you start bringing in numbers that equal the entirety of all the other outlets combined, they start seeing YouTube a little differently. Because in the end, it is called publicity. We had to cover 3 other festivals way back in the day just to get approved by South by. And luckily we're able to make the cut because they specifically, and they stated in the rules even for this year, they do not approve YouTubers as press. And this year their opening film is a YouTube original. Bye! And that's where things get interesting, because our videos, as much as they get claimed, they have been used for promo on social media through retweets and such. We've gotten directors, DMs, thanking us for our coverage, and neither of us will see what the studio is pocketing. I have producers who I've met who text me about their upcoming projects, and I'm over here worried I'm going to get a DMCA through iMessage. It really is these studios being super money hungry without the filmmakers knowing, and while I know that they don't need me, they don't. They do see our use. There have been times that we've been sent something to review and I decide to cover it over on Intercut instead, and the publicist literally hits us up again going, where's the LME for it? Huh? The same studios claiming our videos have reached out to help them make ads. We've been reached out to by big corporations who want to license out our library of reviews for them to use. And I would just ask them with all their fancy lawyers, you guys are sure this is fair use then? And they go, absolutely. So I said, cool, I'm keeping them. It's weird that I can't make money off of a video, but the marketing team for the film can claim it and then push our previous recaps when they have another installment coming out, and then try to send us merch hoping that we do another one. ¿Por qué? Pretty much it's an abusive relationship at this point, where I have to keep giving and I should be happy that I just get access to a movie early and then I'm covering it for them. Unless it's negative, then that's gotta go. I mean, running the numbers, I realized that I've made more for these studios off of all of these bogus claims than I've ever made for myself off this channel. And that really sucks. I don't do it because I want to be like a millionaire. A lot of my content, ever since the A to Z days, has been claimed. I really just care that y'all can see it. With the 10 videos that I had to re-upload right now, those weren't because they were just demonetized. It's because those were blocked or had big chunks that were forced to get cut out. Out of my top 10 most viewed videos on this channel, 8 of them have had ongoing claims. Some where I've never seen a dime, and others where this procedure that they claim is supposed to help you never came into play. So is it fair? Because sometimes you do get big enough that even some of the people who love your videos and are fans just so happen to work for Universal. And when you finally get on a call with them, they let you know that there is no intern flagging these videos. It's just another algorithm that they've created. And they get to say that it's manual. There was also, mentions of studio-grown influencers imitating average reviewers out there, but hey, that's for another time. I do feel like commentators will one day be a part of the rollout, especially as streaming grows. Look at TikTok, and the way that they've formed their licensing, and it's proved beneficial for songs that have topped the charts. Hell, we know that copyright doesn't really mean anything if you go viral and you can end up in a Super Bowl commercial, because as greedy as they are, it's exactly that greed that'll keep them from stopping all of the content that discusses their films. Because at the end of the day, it's still green. What did they do with trailer reactions? Just turned it into marketing. Commentaries, I feel soon, will also be a part of the release of a movie. They're just going to want to find a way to split revenue. I mean, they do get to put their own ads when they claim the video. They get to advertise their movie on the sidebar. They get to control comments and turn them off unlisted. This was something I didn't even know they did until some of y'all were informing me that the comments were turned off. And I don't get notified for that. I have to go back through all of my videos to check. And at the end of it, they get all my viewer data, which is worth more than all of the AdSense combined. Funny enough, there have been 2 videos where something different did happen. Instead of Timmy, the algorithmic intern, claiming the whole vid, they marked it as revenue sharing, specifically on our Halloween video and on Hill House. Again, it's interesting, especially when I realized that with them putting their own ads instead of Google, I was making 3 to 6 times more. And I was splitting half of it with them. Is it a slippery slope? Of course. I think it's weird, especially if it's a review. It shouldn't be considered licensing. And there's also the discussion of when are they going to want to split revenue, especially if you're critical and dissing them. At what point does it become more of a matter of access? And it comes down to, if you can't beat them, then let them consume you. YouTube is a funny thing. It's grown so much that all these channels, the big networks that hate them, they have created MCNs that work for them. They have their own channels on this. They're the ones who are in the trending page. And it's funny to see a lot of advertisers always try to leave. But they always come back to YouTube because that's where everything's at. So when it comes to studios, they've been used to working with outlets that they've built relationships with, where they work together on press releases. They gather those pull quotes, but this whole pivot to video has been a completely different thing. YouTube has a wider reach. It just doesn't have the same privileges yet. But for anyone who has their own channel, just know that you're not just the reviewer. You're not just the editor, just the journalist. You are the entire outlet itself. While they have us arguing and fighting for our videos and claiming that it's fair use, I told you that these companies were eventually just going to mimic the content and make it their own. But nothing is funnier than having a season 1 video for a show that did very well and getting access to a series, but them telling you to hold off for a week before covering it because they were busy making their own version. Like I said, in the end, it comes down to control. There's a way to get out of these issues with, dealing with the ad-friendly things that YouTube wants us to have, like I covered in part 1, and that's signing with a network that's YouTube approved, like they want it. There is a way to worry less about copyright, and that's to sign to a network, many of which, just so happen to be subsidiaries to these big corporations that are claiming the videos anyways. So in other words, you want to get rid of the headache of having to argue for your content? Then sign with us and give us full control of your channel, all of the data and monetization, and you'll never have to worry about claims, because you're gonna be giving them the entire cut ahead of time. And as a percentage of the whole. It is all a business. They treat you like stocks and they try to get you when you're low. And it reminds me of all those MCNs that were reaching out to have me sign ATZ after a year of not putting any content on there because of all the limitations you had to put on it. But they wanted it, and it was confusing to me. So instead I offered up LME that I was working on a lot at the time with, and they said no, because that channel didn't have content that could be approved, even though I was the creator for both, and one spawned the other. They were the same. But years later, yeah, after these last couple of months where LME was also in a similar position, and it had the least amount of uploads and the least amount of engagement, when it wasn't as profitable as it was just a year ago, dozens of emails have appeared from MCNs in my inbox, including that one company that now approves. That's the scheme. That's how they prey. They want to grind you down, and when you're at your lowest, they want to consume you. But it's still all my content. I'm still not signing a deal, and I'm still not going anywhere. Because everything these networks offer, take the percentage that they would take and invest it in yourself. Learn how to network. Work hard for those credentials that they don't prove your worth because you know what you are, but it does for these other companies. Create your library of content and build a fan base that will support you. And spend time learning your rights and keeping tab of all the talks you have with studios or otherwise so you don't get abused. It's not easy, but it's worth it. And overall, I am grateful for all of those who have stuck around to listen. And I am going to continue to invest in myself. And if you make content or even just starting, I hope you do too.